So this is an observation that I've made, having been on YouTube for 10 years, having followed since the age of 6, actually, being interested in the subject of the existence of a god or gods and atheism and theism and religion, and then starting on YouTube 10 years ago and being able to talk about some of the things that I was interested in and getting to hear arguments actually that I hadn't heard, and philosophical perspectives and scientific perspectives and things, and growing myself, but seeing the arguments move on. And I've always maintained an interest in that. And I remember at the time when sort of a few years back, Cy Ten Bruggencate became sort of, people were talking about him and his particular brand of presuppositionalism, and people were saying, is this a kind of last stand? It seems such a desperate argument that he's making here, really, compared to the arguments that used to be made. It just seems so staggeringly weak. Desperate, I think is the word, not weak. So desperate that is it really come to this? It's almost like a sort of death rattle from a religious perspective. Not to say that those old arguments aren't still being made by other people. Of course they are, because on both sides it's arguments that have been made many, many times being rehashed, of course. But we seem to have got to that. What I observe now is, tell me if you've noticed this as well, is that it seems to have moved on as well, again, to a sort of even more desperate level now, when there was always a case of religious people saying that, how can atheists be moral, or that the world would be a better place? Well, the world won't be a very good place. The world's going to be a terrible place if everybody abandons God. People will just be doing whatever they like, killing people, murdering babies, doing whatever they like, or what have you. What will we base our morality on? Or we'll all behave better if we believe in God. But that seems to have taken on a different aspect now. That seems to have almost taken centre stage. I seem to have seen so many videos recently from people who are both theists, atheists and agnostics, people who are Christians, people who are not Christians, people who believe in God but not have any specific religion, who are saying things along the line that we ought to try and effectively, you'll be a better person if you believe in God, so try. It's like a last gasp. It's gone from the conceptual level to almost like, a couple of lovers breaking up, and one of them's walking out, and the other one wants to stay together, and they've made all the logical arguments, all the appeals that they can make, and all they're left with is saying, please don't leave me, how am I going to cope, sort of thing. And it seems like kind of like the equivalent of that. It's kind of like, okay, we can't convince you on scientific grounds or philosophical grounds. Quite honestly, our belief is based on faith, and if you've not been brought up in that faith, we can't expect you to have that. So it's like abandoning all that, right, and just going for the, well, if you believe in Santa Claus, you'll be a better person. So do you think you could possibly see yourself clear to convincing yourself that something exists when it doesn't? And I'm not trying to trivialise belief in God with belief in Santa Claus, but it's the equivalent of that. It's the, okay, so you don't believe in it, you see no evidence for it, but if you could convince yourself that it was true, it would be better for everybody. So maybe as a society, even claims that as a society, we need to go down that line. We need to keep everybody believing. The great unwashed, stupid masses, we need to keep them believing for their own sakes. That is a really, really depressing state to get in, isn't it? I mean, all the great Christian apologists over the centuries, if they thought it was just boiling down to that, effectively abandoning the philosophical and scientific arguments as well, yeah, actually our case does look pretty fucking weak, doesn't it? But, it'd probably be better for all of us if we just kept pretending. Is it really come to that? That is just staggering. And yet I see so many videos that seem to be fitting into that criteria. So I'd be interested to know if other people think they're seeing the same thing, and also from people who are religious, if I'm getting the wrong end of the stick with this. All I can say is I never used to see these videos. I'd see a kind of case outlined along these grounds. I'd see a case outlined that, religious people are more moral or whatever, but never this kind of desperate appeal. As if, well, okay, we've tried everything else, and yeah, we're not even that convinced ourselves. But hey, let's just keep pretending, just for our own sakes. Okay, interested to know what you think about that. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.